Hi, I'm Rob Strechay, Senior Vice President of Product here at Zerto. Thanks for joining us on our live launch keynote, introducing all the new exciting features of our latest release, Zerto Virtual Replication 5.5. With this release, we're taking you to the cloud and back, proving that true IT resiliency is possible. Sound too good to be true? Imagine you're an e-commerce retailer whose infrastructure handles huge bursts during the holiday season. Now you can easily take advantage of burstable performance, scalability, and regional coverage of Microsoft Azure. Then you can fail over before the surge, enable reverse replication, and get your workloads back on-prem once the waves have settled. That's what's possible with 5.5. Or say you want to avoid complex, expensive virtual data center projects. With Zerto's ever-expanding APIs, you can rapidly perform actions on mass amounts of VMs while removing human error for a repeatable, dependable recovery solution. That's what's possible with 5.5. Or maybe you just need to satisfy upper management and prove your DR strategy is working. Zerto Analytics gives you visibility into the complete environment status, including sites, protected machines, alerts, tasks, and imagine this, RPO across your entire organization. That's what's possible in 5.5. Okay, enough talk. Let's see the features in action and learn why with Zerto Virtual Replication 5.5, anything is possible.
Thank you and welcome. Really pleased to talk to you all and introduce our Zerto Virtual Replication 5.5. So as we walk through, and as all of you are really well aware as you take your journey through IT has evolved. And as we've moved from physical servers to virtualization, again onto software-defined data centers, and now we're entering the age of hybrid cloud. A lot of what you're trying to do is to minimize downtime. And what we try to look for is to understand how will we do this in the future and how will this continue to evolve. What we think here at Zerto is that with virtual ZVR or Zerto Virtual Replication 5.5, we're starting to bring you the benefits of that software-defined data center, bring it into the public cloud, and give you more options to be able to go and drive better efficiencies. What we've been seeing as we've talked with customers is that 70% of enterprises will have a hybrid cloud strategy by 2019. And we've been backed up by the folks at Gartner, and what we're also hearing is that 88% of enterprises are moving to a cloud-first strategy. But what's really important to understand here is that it's no longer a question if you will do cloud or not do cloud. It's how many clouds will you have? How will your hybrid strategy evolve over time as you start to move through in your cloud strategy? So be it a cloud-first strategy, be it building it on-prem, then taking it to a managed service provider or a cloud service provider or a hyperscaler, what you'll see is that your entire strategy will evolve as you go through time. And what we've seen is customers look at us as a platform to be the base for that IT resiliency, to provide them IT resiliency into that hybrid cloud. Where do we go here? I mean, what are the other trends and what are customers looking to do? What is this disruption? And I think it's really expecting the business to function without disruption, whatever that means to your company, and being able to understand that you have to meet your SLAs and that those SLAs have really strengthened where you go here. And enterprises are really not just thinking about disaster recovery or backup, they really need true resiliency. It's a plan. It's more than just a technology. It's the ability to utilize the technology to provide that resiliency across applications, across clouds, having multiple strategies, having multiple copies of the data. This way you have locality, you have difference of geographic dispersion, and you have true resiliency within your infrastructure. Why is that? Because really most corporations today can't deal with any planned downtime or unplanned downtime. So be it from user errors or outages, infrastructure failures, or even ransomware. How do you understand the unplanned downtime plus when you have planned downtime? How do you take into account being able to do moves, adds, and changes, maintenance and upgrades? Maybe you're going through and upgrading your hypervisor underneath on top of your servers, and you need to keep those applications up. How do you have that data mobility, that IT resiliency that allows you to do those migrations backwards and forwards from one cloud to another cloud and keep that resiliency going? And that's what we mean. Cloud really is a focus of resiliency. We see it as an underpinning for resiliency. Resiliency is not about just the downtime or unplanned downtime or planned downtime. It's really around the opportunities that are created by having the movement to cloud, how you can leverage cloud as part of your resiliency plan. IT resiliency really is about giving yourself choice and option in what your SLAs will be and how you're going to meet those SLAs. So going back in time a little bit, about November of last year, we announced our 5.0 product, our Zerto Virtual Replication 5.0. At that point in time, we were there to bring you to Azure and be able to use Azure as a secondary or a third data center, place for you to leverage blob storage and use that as a place that you could do disaster recovery. We also brought you one-to-many. What this allowed you to do was have multiple copies, maybe have a local copy, a remote copy in a managed service provider, and maybe even a third copy up in a hyperscaler like Azure. This gave you even more resiliency, more options at different price points with different levels of service. And also, we started on the journey to bring you more visibility and extended monitoring into that infrastructure, into that disaster preparedness. So getting out of talking about just disaster recovery, understanding how well am I positioned if in the event that a disaster were to hit in the next few minutes. How do I show that to you? All of these highlighted together were the underpinnings for where we're going as a platform and bringing new functionality to Zerto Virtual Replication. So again, introducing our Zerto Virtual Replication 5.5. Not only did we take you there in November to Azure, but now we'll be able to replicate you back. Again, tying up with what you'll hear from Microsoft is really a strategy. People don't want to be locked into having to live in one cloud or another cloud. They want the options to migrate between clouds and be able to have that ability to have resiliency. So what did Zerto do? Well, with 5.5, we not only take you to Azure, but we have the ability to replicate you back onto premise. This also works with our Enterprise Cloud Edition to help bring you more features and more options, being able to combine the use of Azure with the use of our Zerto Cloud Service Providers or Managed Service Providers, and really bringing you an ability to have a strategy around IT resiliency. 5.5 also will be highlighted by taking that next step. We've brought you, over the course of the last 10 months, we've brought you a beta for Zerto Analytics. Zerto Analytics now goes live. Zerto Analytics will be providing you real-time and historical reporting to understand what is your disaster preparedness and understand what is my resiliency factor. So how resilient have I been meeting my SLAs, and where do I go? And then what we also did is we didn't want to ignore our customers that are leveraging Amazon as well, and we've actually gone the next set of steps working with Amazon to work on our AWS recovery. So now I want to turn it over to Dominic, from Microsoft. He's going to talk to you about how this journey has been between the two companies and how we'll bring these all together.
Thanks very much, Rob. And welcome, everybody. Really great to have everyone here to learn about 5.5 and how it's fully integrated into Azure. You know, the journey that we started many years ago with Zerto was one that started in infancy, where we wanted to just do one layer of replication back to Azure. And Zerto has gone that extra level. They've actually integrated their product right into the stack of Azure and enabled us to not only replicate into Azure, but back again. They've leveraged the advanced APIs and the storage to create an enterprise scalable business continuity solution. And I'm just going to go over a little bit onto the Azure platform itself in terms of what do you have available to you. So if we look about it, Microsoft has 120,000 new customer signups every month. It's one of the fastest growing public cloud providers there is. 2 out of 3 enterprise servers in the world run on the Microsoft platform, and we're continually growing at this scale. If we look at going forward now, let's have a look at how we're actually scaling up in terms of the momentum. We're currently running 90% plus of the Fortune 500 on the Microsoft Cloud. And actually, I just looked at this slide recently. The old one was actually 2 months ago, it was 85%. So we're constantly growing in that Fortune 500 space and catering for the enterprise. We have 750 million Active Directory users, 188 billion hits to our websites, and 340 billion Azure SQL query requests processed every single day. So truly a phenomenal feat in terms of growth. But one of the things when I look at business continuity, and you know, I've used Zerto for many years in Microsoft and even pre-Microsoft, I look at things top of mind, your RTO and RPO. So how are we going to cater for actually improving that and delivering faster services to you? Well, it's quite simple on that one. What we've done is we've actually leveraged our points of presence globally. So we have more points of presence in terms of our express route capability than any other provider. We've actually opened up more data centers globally than all the other public cloud providers combined, so more than AWS and Google. We have express route connectivity on every single continent bar Antarctica. And this gives you much lower latency through to these data centers. And we're the first public cloud provider to open up 2 new DCs in Africa as well. So what we're giving you is local geo data centers with fast connectivity direct to the DC, enabling you to have reduced RPOs and RTOs. And it's that deep technical integration that Zerto have brought through to enable them to spin up replicas of your servers on Azure as and when you need them. Truly a phenomenal feat in terms of 5.5 is being able to fail over and fail back seamlessly. A great piece of work that we're seeing today and a part of a vision for our partnership going forward. So what about your data in terms of trust? I mean, one of the big things that we're seeing here is people historically didn't trust the public cloud, and that is slowly fading away. I mean, people didn't trust cloud full stop many years ago. It's now part of our lives. If we look at the accreditations that we have today, 62 compliance offerings if you look at from the global accreditations from 27001 for security, going all the way through to NIST, Department of Defense in the US, level 4. If you're working in the media space, we've got MPAA and FACT. If you're working in healthcare, we've got HIPAA. There are so many areas that we cover in terms of both government and in certain industries. So it's not just that in terms of industries, but it's also the regions. So from Argentina to New Zealand, from Japan to Spain, from India to China, the UK GovCloud to Singapore, we focus on gaining the trust of the organizations and the industries to ensure that we give you a public cloud that you can both trust and rely upon. This is something that we focus in on so that when you actually deploy Zerto in your on-premise cloud and you want to replicate to a public cloud, you know that you can trust us with your data, especially in this day and age. So it's important that we show you that we care about your data and your privacy, and that's why we focus on the compliance across both global, industry, government, and regional offerings. So the combination of a hybrid, productive, intelligent, and trusted cloud is what we're focusing in on. And that is what I'm going to bring to you today, actually, with Zerto, is Microsoft Azure and Zerto together give you an enterprise-class business continuity solution that you can trust. One of the things that Satya said, actually, and this is something very important for the partners on the call today, is we will continue to be partner-led. And so our relationship with Zerto is absolutely pivotal in moving us forward. Zerto is one of our key partners going forward, and they supply the intellectual property and the software to drive Azure consumption and show us what our customers and our partners are doing out there. It's incredibly important that we work together with Zerto and support them and you, our end customers, in terms of delivering enterprise-class business continuity. So on that note, I'm going to hand back to Rob, and thank you very much. I'll be on the call later to answer any questions with Rob.
Thank you, Dom. And I really appreciate, Microsoft's support in this journey. It's been very important for us and for Zerto in general that really a lot of what we do is through our partnerships and understanding. So where did we start? Again, we had Zerto Virtual Replication 5.0, which was able to take you to Azure. Now with 5.5, what we look to do is be able to take you home again. I think we all look at it, and everybody has their fears about vendor lock-in and not being able to go between clouds and where do we go and how do we build this IT resiliency. I think as you start to look at putting a strategy together, there's no better partners to have than Zerto and Microsoft in your camp, being able to further where you go, giving you options, be it with Azure or our managed service provider partners in our cloud service provider program, and being able to help you on-premise, be it single hypervisor or multiple hypervisors, as we have pictured here being either on Hyper-V or on VMware. So we're not abandoning what we've done and what we've done in the past, just going cloud. What we are going to do is give you a comprehensive platform for IT resiliency that truly brings you hybrid cloud. And I think that, again, a big piece of this is understanding how we will work and how we will be able to offer your production site up to Azure and be able to bring you back. So being able to have a simplified infrastructure that's managed all in the same way and really gives you that simplicity to understand what's going on, how does it work together, and these are all the same common parts that Zerto has been shipping for over 5 releases now. So with that, I will give you kind of an understanding of where we see things such as Azure playing a really critical role. One of the use cases that we see for our customers as that IT resiliency platform is really giving you an elastic infrastructure. So being able to move up in advance of spikes, have your servers live in that elastic environment so that you can grow them, you can multiply them, and then you can shrink them as well, and then bring them back on premise so that you can leverage and the capabilities for that elastic ability of scalability within the Azure environment. Also, as Dom hit on, and I always love watching this slide and was talking to a customer earlier today about the geodiversity, the fact that even in some place like the UK, Microsoft has 2 locations in the UK or 2 data centers in the UK, giving people the ability to utilize one of Zerto's cloud service providers and an Azure location to give them even geodiversity within smaller island, I would say, than the U.S. is, giving them great geodiversity. And also, when you start to look at having the break glass in case of emergency, compliance, third copy, what we're seeing is a lot of our customers are looking at, they're a little, had been, like Dom said, a little bit nervous about getting into cloud, into using a hyperscaler, or maybe they didn't have the competencies. And what they're doing is reaching out to Zerto cloud service providers, which are also managed service provider partners of Microsoft in Azure. And what they're getting is a white glove solution that includes both the managed service provider environment, so a high SLA, maybe very local geographically, and then they get the leverage of utilizing also Azure potentially to start their journey into a hybrid cloud that includes a hyperscaler. And I think that's where we start to see that third level copy also being put there. Also, we all know, and everybody's read, the abilities of the hyperscalers to drive down costs, in particular around storage. So one of the great features that we've seen our customers leveraging with Azure in particular has been being able to go up there with a 30-day journal, so being able to have 30 days of history for a VM or a set of VMs, and then being able to pull back a file or a folder from that blob storage up in Azure. This is an extremely cost-effective way to have a 30-day copy of that VM from very granular time periods so that you can go back and be able to recover that Excel file that somebody lost off that file server 15 days ago, and you're able to go in there, see it, bring it back without having to recover that entire VM. Extremely efficient and a great use case for leveraging that hyperscaler scale. So one of the other features that I briefly talked about earlier on is the visibility. Visibility is key, and understanding really where you can get and understand how is my stance, how is my environment, is my kit up and running. So what we've done is really brought you Zerto Analytics. Part of this was bringing it to you anywhere, anytime, cross devices, cross platform, without any installation or any punching of holes in firewalls, really bringing you a true SaaS delivered understanding of real time as well as historical views into your environment. Part of this was also enhancing our mobile application. What we had heard is that our customers didn't want to always punch into the app and really drill in. What they wanted to understand is quickly when they woke up in the morning what was going on and what were the alerts that they really needed to attend to. This was one of the things that we started to bring, was to bring you a mini dashboard or a widget within iOS and within Android. And you can see that, again, being able to help you understand allows you to monitor the status without going into that application. We actually had a blog on this back in March that we can get you the link to, which can also help you understand where to get it and how to download it. If you're already a current customer, you can actually go into the My Zerto portal to go and see this. You can see here where it says Analytics in Beta. You'll see that beta disappear in the next coming weeks here, and you'll see that will bring you a whole solution behind this. What it will do is give you 3 months of historical data, help you understand where you've been and where you're going with those, such as your virtual protection group metrics, your VPG metrics, also looking at your journal history and the size of that history. These are very important in understanding where you are from an SLA perspective. You may need to prove it to auditors, not only that you've failed over, but that you're doing this in a consistent manner over time. And as you'll see that this is SaaS delivered, we'll continue to enhance this as we continue to move on. So a lot of what we'll be doing over the time here is to give you access. One of the important things that we had heard from customers is, I want to be able to see multiple Zerto virtual managers or ZVMs in one pane of glass. I want to see the entire map. I want to be able to see this, and that's part of what we provide you through analytics. But I wanted to show you kind of what it looks like today, and if you go in there and see, up in the top right corner there, the coming soon reports. That's where you'll get the historical reporting later this month, and you'll start to see all of this tied together. And as we go through the year, we'll be making enhancements to this as it starts to draw together. So a lot of the important things that we had been asked, a number of customers had said, hey, I had this really neat mapping capability previously in my Zerto Virtual Manager. How do I get that back? Well, we thought the best place to go and do it was up above the Zerto Virtual Manager, because we have customers with hundreds or tens of Zerto Virtual Managers, some with 20, 30, 40 of them based on the size of the service providers. This gives them an entire understanding from an alerting capability and a real-time monitoring, as well as gives you that ability to understand, okay, my RPO across my entire environment is 9 seconds or less. That's pretty impressive, being able to go in there and understand that truly I am resilient. And if something were to happen, I can really count on being able to be where I need to be from a recovery point objective perspective. So moving on to what we did for AWS. Again, Rolling Stone gathers no moss. We have to keep improving. And one of the things that we've been hearing and some of the feedback that we've gotten over the last couple releases was that, hey, I love the recoverability and your recovery time that I get with Azure and I get with VMware and with Hyper-V, but AWS seems a little bit slower. So what we did was, with 5.5, is really improve your recovery time objective by making it 6x faster. Why is this? Part of it was that we worked with AWS and were able to go through and help them understand or help understand better the use of their APIs. As Dom kind of said, Microsoft and us have been working extremely tightly together. We also work together with the folks at Amazon to be able to understand why the imports were taking as long as they were. Another thing that we did here was we really looked to add to our geodiversity, adding places like Canada, Ohio, London, Mumbai, as well as GovCloud in the US. And why is that important? As you'll see that many clouds have many different APIs. We want this to truly be simplistic to our customers. We are hiding that complexity in the background so that you can have the flexibility of moving between clouds, between regions, and have that true hybrid ability. So as you can see, what did that mean to our customers? This is just an example from a 2012 VM with 50 gigs of OS. The old RTO was almost 3 hours. The new RTO for this was 25 minutes. I think that you can see that 6x faster recovery time is pretty impressive. And we've seen even better recovery times than this in our true customers running real workloads with even larger amounts of storage. And how are we doing that? Really, what we've done, and this is a screenshot from our interface, is allowing you to pick how you do that transformation of that VM into Amazon. So are you going to use our Zerto import for data volumes? So all we're going to do is use our quote-unquote faster methodology for your data volumes. Then we have Zerto import for all volumes, which includes the OS. Or we allow you to even select the traditional AWS, previous AWS solution as well. So if you're happy with the import, you're happy and you want to use that, that particular API, we allow for that as well. This allows you to understand how you're going to recover per virtual protection group. So you can go in there, you can have it for a number of protection groups or for one in particular. So why did we come up with these options? As we said, the AWS import used for all of the releases since 4.x. It's really no longer needed, but we wanted to have it there for legacy reasons and to make sure that our customers had all of the pieces that they needed so they didn't have to make the jump, so that they could actually test in the way that they actually do these recovery times. So allowing you to determine which is the right level to go to. What we have is our Zerto importer or Z importer for data volumes. This supports up to data disks up to 1 terabyte or up to including greater than 1 terabyte. So that's another limitation that we've removed by this new methodology. Also, it uses the AWS import for the OS. So you're still using that translation, previous translation for that. The great thing about that is there's really nothing that needs to be installed on that virtual machine, and you're able to do this quickly on the fly. If you really want true speed and you want to take it to the next level, you can actually move to Z importer for all volumes. Now this requires a driver on the protected VMs, but it will also do the OS as well as the data disks, and also continues to support greater than 1 terabyte amounts of data disks as well. So if you have large volumes with large speed or recovery time objectives that are, you want to minimize your recovery time objectives, really Z import for all volumes is the way that you're going to go. So it wasn't just about these 3 things. We've been busy doing a lot of other things. As I said, Rolling Stone gathers no moss here. Really, part of it is we've still been enhancing our core platforms that we've been supporting, since the beginning. We continue to work very closely with the folks at VMware, and we've added official support for 6.5 as recently as bringing on 6.5 U1 as well. So being able to stay in lockstep with the folks that are at VMware and make sure that we have coverage of that. We also brought on Hyper-V 2016. As we've kind of said, we've been working extremely closely with Microsoft, and there was a lot of really exciting changes to bring Hyper-V 2016 and System Center Virtual Machine Manager 2016 online. This way that we give you that investment protection as you move forward. And as always, you can actually go between Hyper-V and VMware and truly start to maximize your heterogeneity as well. We've also continued our API enhancements. And by API enhancements, I'm not talking about just what we've done with Azure and what we've done with AWS, but what we do here is these are our REST APIs. And why is this important? It allows our customers to actually tie back operational efficiencies, to help understand and make things more repeatable, to make them not as manual. We have a number of customers that are heavily leveraging our APIs to provide them either information or to tie into serviceabilities and service catalogs. This allows them to understand and control that environment so that when a new server is provisioned through APIs, it can also provision the protection for that particular server. This is increasingly important for our managed service provider or the Zerto cloud service provider customers and partners that heavily leverage this to provide even better insight and self-service to their customers. So we've also gone through and done a number of things to streamline the operational efficiencies, like for instance, streamlining the VRA upgrade. So being able to make upgradability a core differentiator for Zerto. We want this to be as push button as possible. So with this, where you go through and you upgrade your Zerto Virtual Manager, your ZVM, you can also select to have the right VRAs upgraded in the right manner across that. No more having to shuffle around VMs and be able to understand and go in and then do your Zerto Virtual Manager, then your virtual replication appliances. Bringing it all together, simplifying your life and the manageability of Zerto. We want you to spend less time managing Zerto and more time managing your environment and protecting your environment. VPG management improvements as well. So what we tried to do here is to bring you more capabilities so that when you take VMs out or add VMs in, that you're not losing journal histories or not having to go and resync. So again, getting rid of some of the things that our customers have been seeing affect their abilities to do moves, adds, and changes. Also, I know it's near and dear to a lot of our customers' hearts that are existing customers, is really new warnings and for clarity within performing actions. So giving you more feedback about what are you about to do within the interface and help you understand what's going on underneath here as well. And with that, really what I want to do is welcome Dom back into the conversation and have a little bit of a discussion on where we go with hybrid cloud from here and how Microsoft and Zerto are truly partnering in this.
Thanks, Rob.
So, Dom, I hear a lot from customers on, how do we get started with this cloud thing? What does Microsoft see, from their customers? Because you mentioned it, people have been kind of shy about using hyperscalers like Azure. What are you guys seeing today in that respect?
Actually, things have changed significantly over the last few years, and one of the things that really ties into what Zerto does is customers are looking for those first workloads to take to the public cloud. And in many cases, it's the DR site. It's one of the low-risk items where they say, do you know what, let me see how this performs on public cloud. Let me take that first step. And that's exactly where Zerto fits in. Zerto is the provider to then help those customers replicate their on-premise infrastructure through to the public cloud. So we are seeing an incredible growth and expansion. As I showed earlier on the slides, 120,000 new accounts every month. What we're seeing is that customers are looking for workloads that they want to test out. And I think Zerto is perfectly placed to start migrating those early business continuity workloads across to the public cloud.
No, we agree, and I think I'm seeing the same things. I was in New York City quite recently with a number of CIOs, and I think when we start to see and we talk to them about Zerto and our partnership with Microsoft, a lot of them have really looked at how do I get started, and their DR workloads seem to be, to use another cliche, low-hanging fruit for them, to be able to take that first step, to actually test it out. I've seen a number of our customers saying, hey, I want to actually go run in Azure for a month and understand what the performance looks like and understand that. So I want to migrate a certain number of my VMs up, but I also want that capability to bring them back. Maybe I do it during a low season. Maybe I'm in the retail industry and there's another particular hyperscaler that competes against me, and I don't want to go to that hyperscaler, but I want to also go on off-prem to the hyperscaler, to Azure, to have that burstability at certain times of the year. Maybe it's during the back-to-school season here in the States, in September and back in January. So being able to have those capabilities.
I think based on that, we're seeing that customers actually really do want to just pay as you go. And that's the joy about true public cloud in terms of being able to only pay for the storage, and when you start spinning up the machines, then you start paying for the compute elements. That really makes it attractive as a DR destination.
Completely agree. And Microsoft has a lot of I'd say message going out around hybrid cloud. How real are you guys seeing that as part of what your teams are out there and talking to customers on every day like we are? How are you seeing that, the uptick of hybrid cloud for your customers? Because we see it as a key component for where Zerto and Microsoft kind of intersect.
We actually see it as one of our differentiators against some of our competitors. We are fully supportive of hybrid cloud. We totally expect people to run part of the infrastructure on-prem and part on public cloud, private cloud. I think it's going to be a combination of these. Our are going to be the right fit for the end customers. We're not going to force you down a route where we say you have to run everything on public cloud. It's all about what's best for your business. Do you need specific hardware to run your infrastructure on? Are there specific laws in your country or specific laws in your industry that prohibit you from running on public cloud? You may need to have a combination of both. So absolutely, Rob, we're looking at supporting the customers in terms of whether they want to run hybrid, public, combination of the two. It's totally where we want to see what suits the customer. And I think when we look at what you do with Zerto, that really makes it, again, you guys play into that. You can actually replicate from private on-premise equipment through to private cloud, through to public cloud, and facilitate that movement of data between the clouds seamlessly. And that's great because that falls in line with our strategy.
Completely agree. I think, one of the things I think is special, Azure is not the only cloud that Zerto works with, but again, we have a great relationship. I think what's special about that relationship is that we both also have Zerto-powered cloud providers or managed service providers as partners of ours. Can you kind of talk to what's special about Microsoft's relationship with those managed service providers and Zerto-powered cloud service providers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I stated earlier, we are focusing in on a partner-first approach now. And that's really important for us in terms of actually growing our presence within the enterprise customer space and small, medium size and corporate. So what we've done is we've actually restructured the organization, and we have a new organization called the One Commercial Partner Organization. That is dedicated to supporting companies like Zerto, but also all the system integrators and partners who are implementing these solutions on the ground. And actually, many years ago, I used to be one of these system integrators. I used to implement Zerto into various customers, and it was part of my business. And I think that's why I have this affinity to Zerto. And actually now in Microsoft, I see how we're supporting these system integrators. We're working with them to show them how Zerto can be deployed and helping them with ways of deploying it in their subscriptions and customer subscriptions to try and help the end customer get what they need. I think with Zerto's offering, which is through partners as well, this ties in very nicely to Microsoft's partner-first approach going forward.
I couldn't agree more. I think what's exciting about the relationship as it grows is customer choice. And I think that as we build our software to really be a platform for IT resiliency and having partners with Microsoft and with our managed service providers and giving those customers the options for being able to go to different geolocations, or have, like you said, different security aspects, being able to tie up for particular applications. I want to recover one application over here, another application in another cloud. I think it really does come back to providing our customers, our joint customers, really that capability to have choice about what is their resiliency, what is the plan that they're putting in place, and how they really tie up with hybrid cloud.
I mean, top of mind for me at the moment when I look at, being based in Europe, I look at GDPR and I look at ransomware, which we've seen a couple of instances popping up in the UK and across Europe. And when I look at the offering that we have from Zerto, this is exactly where we should be looking to prevent this from interrupting business. With GDPR, we're looking at data protection, and Azure Cloud is dedicated to providing protection for you. When we look at ransomware and how that's affecting businesses, again, the combination of Zerto and Microsoft Azure are really where I see businesses should be moving, because we want to protect the customer's data and supply them with a enterprise scalable public cloud that they can rely on.
Completely agree. And I think you bringing up GDPR, I would say, in kind of closing out here, stay tuned for where Zerto goes in its IT resiliency around locality and understanding how you better understand where your data is and where you take it to. This will be a combination. I think, what we've done with 5.5 here, and I appreciate everybody joining us, is really put the underpinnings for where we go over the next couple years in IT resiliency, giving you a platform to build off of and to have a plan and the abilities through our partners and our partnerships to put together a hybrid cloud strategy that you can be proud of. And I really appreciate everybody joining. Thank you, and this is being recorded, and we will send out links afterwards. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks very much, everybody.